All right, so folks, today I'm diving deep into a topic that I feel can really make or break your business. And what that is providing value added content. I love to say that. So, whether you're a home service professional, right, or you are a fitness entrepreneur, adding value through content like you're watching or listening to can set you apart from the sea of competition, right? Like a unicorn in a field of horses. I hope you like that analogy. So, grab your notepad, or if you're power washing a deck or just doing some squats, let's listen closely because this one's for you. What's up, everyone? This is Fit for Business with me, Jarod Lehn. If you could do me a favor, if you're watching this on YouTube for the very first time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. Or if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and tap that follow button. We really appreciate your support. Welcome to episode 40. Pretty big milestone, I think. So for those of you who don't know, I'm the owner and founder of Socialtopia. We are a social media marketing agency based out of Monroe, New York. We're basically a month shy of being open for 7 years now. And our agency primarily partners with fitness entrepreneurs and home service professionals alike. And we help them by doing a few things, by elevating their brands and achieving their revenue marketing goals. Today, I wanted to kick things off with our home service pros. You guys and gals are really the unsung heroes of suburbia. But how do you go about making sure folks know you're not just another name in the phone book, or let's be honest, these days, online? By sharing your expertise in really a relatable and useful way. Let's really start this one off with a classic, what I like to call the wooden deck approach. Picture this. It's a Saturday afternoon, the sun's shining, and your neighbor is out there wrestling with a rented pressure washer like it's a fucking mechanical bolt. I know, I've seen it firsthand. That's your moment to shine, right? You could swoop in with content that turns that rodeo into a ballet, let's say. So, tip number one, right? Educate with care. Let's break that down. You could create a short video or a step-by-step guide on how to power wash a wooden deck without stripping it bare like a sunburned tourist, right? So start with the basics. You could say, hey, let's choose the right equipment. Explain why a 40-degree nozzle is really your deck's best friend and why the distance between the nozzle and the wood should just be more than just social distancing measure, right? Dive deeper by explaining the science behind the nozzle's angles and the actual water pressure. I think this would not only help but educate your audience, but could also position yourself as a true expert, right? So let's talk about why technique matters. That's what I want to talk about. Technique matters. Why is this? So you could demonstrate the sweeping motion, right, needed to clean without causing damage on that deck. This is where you can inject some humor, liken it to painting a fence or even exaggerated karate chop. Share a story about the first time you power washed a deck and how you probably learned out the hard way about maintaining that right distance, right? Or you could kind of go like, hey, let's talk about safety first, right? Because you don't want anybody losing a toe or taking out the family dog with a rogue water jet. And then you can kind of go there from including tips on wearing protective gear and the importance of maintaining a safe environment for both you yourself, the worker, and the curious onlookers, right? Like kids or pets who probably might wander too close to you when you're on a job. But why stop at decks? You should diversify your content, right? Which leads me to tip number two. Let's talk about, roof and gutter maintenance, right? People tend to overlook their roofs and gutters until there is a problem. You could go about creating content that's explaining seasonal maintenance tips, right? Discuss how clogged gutters can lead to water damage and the importance of those regular checks. You could share a checklist for DIY enthusiasts and remind them why professional help might be the quote unquote better choice, right? Sometimes the juice, as I like to say, isn't worth the squeeze. Let me kind of go beyond pressure washing and go for landscape lighting for beginners. We're going to talk about this, which is another home service pro realm. Ever notice how a well lit home stands out, right? Well, you could share tips on installing landscape lighting to enhance curb appeal. Discuss the different types of lights, right? Their placement and how they can deter unwanted visitors, right? Use those before and after photos where you can really use to illustrate the dramatic change good lighting can have and make. Remember, the goal right there is to build trust and show your level of expertise in your craft. If you can save your audience from turning their deck into a wood chip pile or their gutters into a waterfall, they're more likely to call you for jobs and they won't want to DIY. That's what we fucking call winning, like finding that last piece of a puzzle. All right, so for my fitness entrepreneurs, flexing your content muscles, right? Now on to your fitness fanatics here. You guys are really in a unique position, right? Because the world of fitness is constantly evolving. I feel your audience craves content that's not only informative, but inspiring. The good news, you've got a smartphone, and with that, you can, when I say, become the Richard Simmons of the digital age, minus the unitard. And hopefully, you guys know who Richard Simmons is. Google him if you do not. So, let me get into tip number one here for all you fitness pros. We'll talk about movement patterns, right? Video is going to be your best friend here. Create engaging content, right? Breaking down complex movement patterns. So let's say you're dissecting a deadlift, the deadlift, a move that I think is misunderstood as tofu at a barbecue, right? So for me, I've been deadlifting for over a decade. And up until probably 8 years ago, before I got into a facility, I learned the hard way that I my form was a little mistweaked. And then when I made that one tweak, it aligned and it straightened everything. And my lifts got even more better. That's not even word, but my lifts improved significantly. My strength improved significantly. No lower back pain from making minor tweaks, right? So let's kind of dive into like from, form over function, right? You could, on your video, use slow motion videos to show the right posture and point out common mistakes, like break that down. Throw in an analogy, right? Like comparing a spinal alignment to a stack of pancakes. One wrong move and the syrup's going to go everywhere, right? Or you could share a personal story about your own struggles, like I was just saying, with form and how mastering it really changed your workouts. And you can even look to get more interactive, right? So let's talk about that. Being more interactive. You can encourage your followers to send in clips, of their form for critique. Be gentle. You're their fitness sensei, not their middle school gym teacher, right? You want to go about creating a community vibe by sharing success stories from those who improved their form with your help, not the latter. Let's talk about nutrition. So, nutrition nuggets, right? And then there's nutrition again, right? It's not just about eating kale and quinoa until you turn into a human garden. For me, I feel it's about balance. Eat this, not that, right? You can create content around smart swaps. For example, show how swapping out that carb loaded pasta for maybe zucchini noodles can satisfy without the carb crash. I don't know. Add humor and comparing it to dating, right? It's all about finding the right match for everybody. Share a quick, easy recipe that even the busiest people or person can, whip up per se. So that's one avenue. Let's get into like a myth busting. I think myth busting is a really big segment an area that any fitness person can get into. You can host mini Q&A sessions where you address common diet myths, right? So did someone say eating after 6 p.m. turns you into a gremlin? Well, debunk that shit. Dive into the science behind the myths and the visual aids like infographics, right? Old school infographics to make it easier and digestible to understand for your audience, right? For me, I'm more hands on. I like to see things. you know, I react differently with cues. So like I like infographics and I like being hands-on. So a live Q&A, having somebody break something down for me personally, that works for me. So you got to understand your audience. Your audiences are going to consume your pieces of the content differently, whether that's through static posts, photos, or video content like we're describing here. So how about tip number 3 for you guys, right? Creating a balanced workout routine, which I feel a lot of people struggle with. Many people struggle with, right? Finding the right balance in their workout routine. So this is, you can go down the rabbit hole, share some insights on how to create a balanced program that is, includes strength, cardio, which people hate, mobility and flexibility. Discuss the importance of rest and recovery and how overtraining can be counterproductive. I think you can really personalize this by sharing that segment with your own weekly workout schedule and how it helps you maintain peak performance. So let's talk about the power of relatable content. Whether you're scrubbing a deck or coaching a squat, the magic lies in making your content relatable, right? That's what it is. And here's how to do it. Let's talk about how to make your content relatable, injecting that personality, that humor, the nuances where people most likely like you. You know that firsthand. You have clients, you get business, whether it's in person, the ads right now. You have to take that personality and get it out there online. So let's talk about storytelling. Share your own experiences, right? Like the time you turned a deck into a slip and slide or how you mistook a yoga pose for a nap. I don't know. Authenticity resonates more than perfection. Remember that. You can use these stories to build this connection with your audience, showing them that you're human too. From there, maybe sprinkle in a little humor. A little self depreciation goes a long way. Be able to laugh at your own mistakes, and your audience will laugh with you, really, not at you. I feel this approach not only makes your content more engaging, but it's going to help break down barriers. And those barriers are going to make you more approachable. So, for me and this episode, my closing thoughts are as follows, right? So, as I wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Value added content is your ticket to standing out in a crowded market. I've said this before. So, whether you're washing away grime or spreading fitness wisdom, your audience really wants to feel empowered and feel entertained. So, you need to go out there and make that content count because ideally, the world really needs more experts and fewer infomercials. Hey guys, so before I sign off today, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you can, drop some comments below. And if you enjoyed today's episode, let us know. And if you didn't, well, leave one anyway. We'd love the feedback. Even the kind that makes me want to eat an entire tub of Ben& Jerry's ice cream. I don't care. So I'll catch you next time on the Fit for Business podcast with Jarod Lehn. So go ahead, keep adding value, keep sharing your expertise, right? And remember, your content is your handshake to the world.